The system taxed the paucity of fighting violence dialects. Imagine a world where the laws of humanity simply do not exist, where the smoke of burning civilizations clears only to reveal a landscape of systematic horror. These aren't just stories of battle. They are the most chilling accounts of absolute brutality ever etched into the stone of history. Throughout the ages, warfare has served as a devastating force. But in the ancient world, violence often transcended the needs of strategy. What we would define today as war crimes, acts of unthinkable cruelty against the defenseless, were once used as deliberate tools of statecraft. Rulers didn't just want to defeat their enemies, they wanted to erase them, using fear as a primary currency of power. Today, we peel back the layers of time to examine the most notorious instances where empires abandoned all mercy, leaving behind a legacy of destruction that still haunts the historical record. In 332 BCE, the legendary Alexander the Great was carving his way through the Persian Empire. His path eventually led him to Tyre, a wealthy, fortified island city off the coast of modern Lebanon. Known as the Queen of the Seas, Tyre's massive walls and naval superiority had allowed it to withstand sieges for centuries. When its leaders refused to bow to Alexander, they set the stage for a massacre. Alexander's response was a feat of both engineering and madness. He constructed a massive land bridge, or causeway, across the sea to reach the island. Once his Macedonian phalanxes breached the walls, the pent-up rage of a 7-month siege was unleashed. Over 6,000 citizens were slaughtered in the streets. But the horror didn't stop there. To send a message to any other city thinking of resisting, Alexander ordered 2,000 surviving men to be crucified along the shoreline. The remaining 30,000 inhabitants, the elderly, women, and children, were sold into the darkness of slavery. Across the Mediterranean, another tragedy was unfolding. Carthage was once the crown jewel of North African trade, but to Rome, it was a rival that could no longer be tolerated. By the Third Punic War in 1949 BCE, the Roman Senate's mantra was clear: Carthage must be destroyed. After a grueling 3-year siege, Roman forces finally broke through. What followed was not a victory, but an annihilation. Historians like Polybius, who witnessed the aftermath, described a city turned into a slaughterhouse. Of the 700,000 people who once called Carthage home, a staggering 650,000 were killed. The meager 50,000 survivors were enslaved, and the city itself was systematically leveled, burned until only ash and rubble remained. This wasn't just a military defeat, it was a cold, calculated attempt to wipe an entire culture off the map. If one empire defined itself through the art of psychological warfare, it was the Assyrians, ruling Mesopotamia from the 10th to the 7th centuries BCE. They didn't just conquer, they traumatized. Their kings, such as Ashurnasirpal II, actually boasted in stone inscriptions about their cruelty. They perfected the art of public torture. Captives were often flayed alive, their skins draped over city walls as a warning. Others were impaled on stakes or had their limbs severed, left to die slowly in view of their comrades. This systematic use of terror kept their subjects in check for centuries, but it also sowed the seeds of a deep, collective hatred that would eventually lead to their own violent downfall at the hands of a vengeful coalition. Moving into the medieval era, the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan introduced a scale of killing rarely seen in human history. In 1221, after a rebellion in the city of Nishapur, the Mongols allegedly slaughtered 1.7 million people, leaving pyramids of skulls in their wake. Every living soul, man, woman, child, and even domestic animal, was put to the sword. Perhaps even more terrifying was their early use of biological warfare. During the 1346 siege of Kaffa, the Mongols began catapulting the corpses of plague victims over the city walls. This desperate, horrific tactic likely accelerated the spread of the Black Death into Europe, killing millions more. Furthermore, the systematic sexual violence and exploitation practiced by the Mongol armies left a genetic mark on the world that persists to this day, with millions of descendants linked back to Genghis Khan himself. Finally, we look to the while often romanticized as explorers, the Viking Age began with acts of pure terror. In 793 CE, the raid on the monastery of Lindisfarne sent shockwaves through Christendom. The invaders showed no regard for the sacred, slaughtering monks and burning holy sites. Viking tactics relied on speed and absolute ferocity. They targeted the defenseless, wiping out entire coastal villages and taking survivors as thralls or slaves. These weren't just raids for gold. They were exercises in dominance that kept Europe in a state of constant fear for nearly 3 centuries. The ancient world was a stage for horrors that challenge our understanding of human nature. Each of these events reshaped the map, not through diplomacy, but through the extreme application of suffering. By looking back at these dark chapters, we are reminded of the heavy cost of unchecked power and the fragile nature of human dignity. Understanding these atrocities is the first step in ensuring that the lessons of the past are never forgotten. If you found this deep dive into the darker side of history compelling, please show your support. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our future explorations into the complexities of our shared past. Thank you for watching.